what you've experienced, no one can challenge if you don't let them. I don't need to enter into arguments or debates with people over theology because I have an encounter with the living God face to face and I know him. No one is going to convince me other than God is love, no matter what they say or what theology or doctrines they try and challenge me with, because I know God is love. This is a quote from Keith Giles, one of my favorite lines from the Gospel of Philip. And there are other Gospels other than things that are in the Bible. And I would encourage you, if you're interested, to have a look at some of those things. Do it with discernment. But, these are things that are out there that could give him some insight into something which is not necessarily included in the Bible, but that doesn't make it wrong. As if you become whole, you will be filled with light, but if you're divided, you will be filled with darkness. And the quote is, that's not some legalistic rule following salvation message. It's not a rule. It's an invitation to transformation. And as we're transformed, we are transfigured, filled with light. But if we're broken, fragmented, divided, then there will be elements of darkness in our life, which is limiting who we really are, because we are beings of light, made in the image of God, who is light. The Gospel of Philip doesn't give us easy answers, but that's what makes it so powerful. It invites us into the mystery, to embrace the journey rather than just settling for doctrine. And honestly, isn't that what faith is supposed to be all about? Don't settle for doctrine or theology. Go on a journey to experience the mystery and enter into his intimacy with God himself. He is the light that lights every man that comes into the world. A Bible quote. Everybody has the light of Jesus, the light of life. Some know it, some don't, but the gospel is all will know it. And that is the message that we carry. All will know that truth. But we want people to know that now. We don't want people to wait for their whole lives, for being on their deathbed or engaging that even after they die. We want people to enter into the fullness of who they really are now and to know that reality that God is with them and in them. So if you claim to teach grace, but place a caveat of some self-induced action to receive it, you have left grace and entered the land of mixture, or as Paul said, another gospel. Make sure you're not trapped in another gospel that puts a condition on grace or love. There is nothing we need to do to receive it. We just have to accept it. There's nothing we can do to make it so. It is so. When people claim that the Bible is their authority, what they're really saying is that their interpretation of the Bible is their authority. Josh Scott. And that was what I believe, and functioned in for a lot of my Christian life. I believe that the Bible was my authority, but what version and whose understanding? My own, or what I've been taught and conditioned and indoctrinated with through my upbringing. Now, here is one of the saddest things I think I've ever seen on Facebook. It's a quote by a guy called Paul Washer, who I believe is a pastor of a Southern Baptist church. It says, the moment when you take your first step through the gates of hell, the only thing you will hear is all of creation standing on its feet, applauding and praising God because God has got rid of you from the earth. That's how not good you are. Now, that to me is the most saddest thing I've ever heard, and so contradicts the reality of who God is and the reality of God's love. And I thought I'd go and look that up a little bit more, and I found that this guy was a pastor of something called Grace Community Church. If that's not the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard, coming with that perspective, I don't know what is. But this was the quote that I saw from someone who read this quote. It says, my take, it's not the guy here that I have a problem with. He's sincerely speaking what he believes is the truth. And for him, it feels compassionate to share it that way. The issue is the distorted portrait of God that's being painted with these horrible words. Think about this premise. God is obligated to have you tortured forever because you're worthless and dirty and unholy. Because of this, a holy and just God must rid the earth of you, a divine image bearer, and all of God's good creation will stand in worship when this happens. Question mark, question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. How could something be so utterly wrong? It's wrong because those people who made up this doctrine have never met the Father face to face. They only study the Bible and believe what they have been told the Bible says. When the only thing you receive is the Father's love, then the only thing you can give is the Father's love. No judgment, no hate, no them and us, Don Keithley. God treats you as his child, as the apple of his eye and the treasure of his heart. You are loved unconditionally. You don't have to perform to earn that love. You are loved unconditionally. Let no one or nothing tell you anything else. When the only thing you receive is the Father's love, that is the key. That is the key. We must receive the Father's love. It's the Father's love that will bring change and transformation to us so that we can love as we've been loved. Here's a quote from Brian Zahnd. We all make errors in our theology, you and me both, so my recommendation is to err on the side of love. Why? Because God is not doctrine, God is not denomination, God is not war, God is not law, God is not hate, God is not hell, God is love. God is love. Let's focus on that reality. God is love. That is the truth. That is the reality. God is love. There is never a time when God is not thinking about you. You are on his mind before the foundation of the world, and his thoughts towards you are always good. Unconditional love does not demand a choice or a decision. Unconditionally love simply loves, accepts, and includes. Jesus included everyone in his death, so everyone would be included in his resurrection. Therefore, Jesus saved the whole world, not just some, but not just the world at the time that he was living, but the whole of mankind, completely and utterly. All that have lived and all that would live, all died with him and all have been resurrected with him. That is the power of the gospel. To discover truth, we must be willing to put pleasant illusions and traditional preconceptions on the back burner for the sake of truth. We have to position ourselves to let truth declare itself to us. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, Don Keithley, is so important if we're going to receive that truth, know that truth, which will totally set us free, that we're willing for that truth to challenge some of the things that we currently or previously have believed. Don't hold on to doctrine and theology so strongly that it keeps you from the truth and keeps you in bondage.